Java string. So this is one of the important topic in Java programming. For the interview point of view and for the project point of view, this topic is important. So what is a string? So in general, a string is a sequence of characters identified by double quote symbol. So in general, so a string is a character array. A string is a character array also, we can say. But in Java programming, so each strings are objects. So this point we have to understand every string value considering as one object. So the meaning is, suppose it is a string value Bithal. So when this string value the control will read, so immediately a memory will allocate the name, whatever the memory we will take, and the value Bithal will assign into that memory, we will see. So that's why we can say this string value is an object data. So that's why every strings are objects. Just we will discuss, I will show you when I will go to representation parts. So every strings are object. That means when a string value will read by the control, immediately a memory is allocating the value assigning into that memory. Object is nothing but a memory simply. So there are some classes, 4 built-in classes to represent and manipulate strings, like string class, string buffer class, string builder class, then string tokenizer class. So basically these classes that we use to represent and manipulate strings. So we will discuss one by one. So first of all, we will discuss about string class. So the first point is important. So how to represent a string value using string class? For this, we have two approaches. There are two approaches that we can use to represent strings using string class. Approach 1, we will see string let s1 equals to, suppose I will write Java string s2 equals to, I will write res string s3 equals to, I will write suppose Java. So this is my approach 1. So in approach 1, in which way we are representing a string value? Simply string is a class name, then s1 we can consider it is a reference, or we can say s1 is a string type of variable. So class name, reference or variable equals to string value. So this is a string value, this is a string value, this is a string value, or we can say this is a string, this is a string, this is a string. But in which way the control is understanding? So when you remember one point, when the concept of string is coming to our picture, so in memory point of view, a particular memory will active, that is heap area or heap memory area. So when the first line executes, so in which way the control is understanding? So from the memory point of view, suppose let this is area, this is area, suppose this area is what? Heap area. This area is heap area. Heap is a memory area in Java programming context. Then inside the heap area there is a small memory area that is called as what? SCP. The meaning is string constant pool. String constant pool. So what is SCP? SCP is a tiny memory area inside heap area. So particularly when this type of approach we are presenting, so this type of memory is allocating internally. Then coming to the first representation, when this line will execute, first of all the control will check, is there any value or constant named as Java available? If it is available, then the reference variable s1 will refer directly to that memory. So if it is not available, then simply a memory will allocate and the value Java will assign into that memory, and this memory will referred by a reference variable, so that is s1. The meaning is this. The meaning is this. When the first line will execute, the meaning is this. A memory is allocating the value Java assigning into that memory, and memory is allocating inside SCP. SCP is available inside heap, and this memory is referred by a reference variable s1. So if the memory address is 5000, then the value of s1 is 5000. S1 is referring to that memory. So that's why we can say every string value is an object. So for which reason we are saying? So when the control reading a string value, immediately a memory is allocating the value, is assigning into that memory, and the memory is referring by the reference variable. Similarly, coming to the next representation, string s2 equals to res. So here res is the string value. So when this line will execute, same way, so first the control will check, is there any constant or any value named as res available in SCP? No. If it is not available, then in same way another memory will allocate and the value res will assign into that memory, and this memory is referring by a reference variable s2. s2 meaning is this. Similarly, when third line will execute, string s3 equals to Java. Java is the string constant value. So the control will check, is there any value named as Java available? Yes, this is available. If it is available, then there is no need to allocate a memory separately. Simply the reference variable s3, the reference variable s3 will refer directly to this memory. So this is the meaning of this three line. So in this type of representation, a memory area named as string constant pool coming to our picture, and when the control read a string value, so that for that value immediately a memory is allocating, the value is assigning into that memory, and the memory is referring by a reference variable. Okay, then we will go to approach 2, then we will compare in approach 1 and approach 2 which approach is better and why. This is a common 0 to 3 years interview question. How many approaches that we represent a string using string class, and which approach is better and why. So I will go to approach 2. I will go to approach 2. Similarly, 3 statements I am writing. String s1 equals to new string. So here within brackets I will write Java. Similarly, I will write string s2 equals to new string. Within bracket I will write res. String s3 equals to new string. Within bracket then I will write again job. So approach 2. So in approach 2 what I have done, so here s1 s2 s3 explicitly s1 is an object, s2 is an object. In particularly Java programming context, how to declare an object in our next chapter when we will go to Java OOPS concept. So in that time we will know in detail, so how to create an object or how to declare an object, what is the syntax. New class name, in this way parenthesis, this is the one way that we can create an object. Otherwise class name, object name, class name, object name equals to new class name parenthesis. So this is another way so that we can create an object. So here class name object name equals to new class name. So that's why S1 is an object, S2 is an object, S3 is an object. Explicitly, we declared S1, S2, S3 as an object. But in which way the control is understanding, so that we have to know. Approach 2. So here, so currently we studied there are two memory areas, particularly for this context. There are various memory areas, but particularly for this context. So one is heap and one is SCP, string constant pool, SCP. So now what is happening? So when first line will execute, because S1 is an object, S2 is an object name, S3 is an object name. So for S1, one object is creating in this way. So separately, three objects will create, and what with the help of a reference, that is our object name. One is S1 and one is S2 and one is S3. This is S1 and this is S2. This is S3. This is Java, race, Java. So this is the one way. That means three objects creating. Name of the objects are S1, S2, S3. Then the value Java, the value race, again the value Java assigning into that memory. So it is one object S1, S2, S3. But when the control read the string value, because currently I told every string value is an object, because when a string value the read by the control, immediately a memory is allocating. That memory is what referring by a reference variable and the value assigning into that memory. Every string is, or every string values are objects, but explicitly S1 is an object, S2 is an object, S3 object. That means in this line two objects are creating. In this line two objects are creating, or I can say in this line two objects are creating. How two objects are creating? So class name object name equals to new class name. S1 is the object name, explicitly we declare, but string value is an object. So when the control read string value, immediately memory is allocating. So that part, that process where it is happening, the inside string constant pool currently we discussed. So that part where it is happening in string constant pool. So one is S1, one is S2 and one is S3. So this is S1 and this is S1 and this is S2 and this is S3. So this is Java and this is race. So this memory is referring by S1, this memory is referring by S2 and this is S3. So this pattern currently we saw in approach 1. That means in this line two objects, creating. One is new class name, that is an object declaration. But when particularly when the control read a string value, it is an object. It is an object. Every string value are objects. Okay, but this type of what things are happening in this side, but explicitly when s1 s2 s3 object creating, so that is happening in heap side. Since scp is available inside heap, so in this context this part is coming in our picture, this part is displaying. Okay, so this is approach 2. Then which approach is better? In approach 1 is better or approach 2 is better? So in this context approach 1 is better, because in approach 2, so when one line executing, two objects creating, two objects, new class name, that is one object. When the control read a string value, an object is creating. So this point if you will trail in front of the interviewer, so they will be happy. So in this line two object, in this line two objects creating, in this line two objects creating, but in approach 1 only one object is creating, whereas in approach 2 two objects creating. Then in approach 1 duplicacy, so that is not possible, because if the value of s3 is java, so for that separate memory, not allocating simply the reference variable s3 referring to this memory. So in approach 1, so duplicates are not allowed, duplicacy is not allowed, what's allowing, but in approach 2, so in this case duplicates are allowed. So s1 java again s3 java, so duplicacy allowed. So in this context, if I will compare approach 1 and approach 2 in this way, so approach 1 is a better approach.